magic his might. As August wore on, the square of unkept grass in the middle of Grimmauld Place shivered in the sun until it was brittle and brown. The inhabitants of number 12 were never seen by anybody in the surrounding houses, and nor was number 12 itself. And the muggles who lived in Grimmauld Place had long since accepted the amusing mistake in the numbering that had caused number 11 to sit beside number 13. And yet the square was attracting a trickle of visitors who seemed to find the anomaly most intriguing. Barely a day passed without one or two people arriving in Grimmauld Place with no other purposes, or so it seemed, than to lean against the railing facing number 11 and 13, watching the join between the two houses. The lurkers were never the same 2 days running, although they seemed to share a dislike for normal clothing. Most of the Londoners who passed them were used to eccentric dressers and took little notice, though occasionally one of them might glance back, wondering why anybody will wear such long cloaks in this heat. The watchers seemed to be gleaning little satisfaction from their vigil. Occasionally one of them started forward excitingly, as if they had seen something interesting at last, only to fall back looking disappointed. On the first day of September, there were more people lurking in the square than ever before. Half a dozen men in long cloaks stood silent and watchful, gazing as ever at houses 11 and 13, but things for which they were waiting still appeared elusive. As evening drew by, bringing with it an unexpected gust of chilly rain for the first time in weeks, there occurred one of two inexplicable moments when they appeared to have seen something interesting. The man with the twisted face pointed, and his closest companion, a podgy, pallid man, started forward. But a moment later, they had relaxed into their previous state of inactivity, looking frustrated and disappointed. Meanwhile, inside number 12, Harry had just entered a hall. He had nearly lost his balance as he paraded onto the top step just outside the front door, and thought that the Death Eaters might have caught a glimpse of his momentary exposed elbow, shutting the front door carefully behind him. He pulled off the invisibility cloak, draped it over his arm, and hurried along the gloomy hallway toward the door that led to the basement, a stolen copy of the Daily Prophet clutched in his hand. The unusual low whisper of Severus Snape greeted him. The chill wind swept him, and his tongue rolled up for a moment. "I didn't kill you," he said, once it had unrolled. Then held his breath as the dusty Jinx figure exploded. He waited until he was halfway down the stairs of the kitchen, out of earshot of Miss Black and the clear of the dust cloud, before calling, "I've got news, and you won't like it." The kitchen was almost unrecognizable. Each surface now shown, copper pots and pans had been burnished in a rosy glow. The wooden tabletop gleamed. The goblets and plates already laid for dinner glinted in the light from a merry blazing fire, on which a cauldron was shimmering. Nothing in the room, however, that was dramatically different than the house elf, who came hurrying toward Harry, dressed in a snowy white towel, his hair as clean and fluffy as cotton wool. Regulus's locket bouncing on his thin chest. "Shoes off, if you please, Master Harry." "And hands washed before dinner," croaked Creature, seizing the invisibility cloak and slouching off to hang it on a hook on the wall, beside a number of old-fashioned robes that had been freshly laundered. "What happened?" Ron asked apprehensively. He and Hermione had been poring over a shelf of scribbled notes and hand-drawn maps that littered the end of the long kitchen table. But now they watched Harry as he strolled toward them and threw down the newspaper on top of their scattered parchment. A large picture of a familiar hook-nosed black man stared up at them beneath a headline that read, "Severus Snape confined as Hogwarts headmaster." "No," said Ron and Hermione loudly. Hermione was quickest. She snatched up the newspaper and began to read a accompanied story out loud. "Severus Snape, long-standing potion master at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, was today appointed headmaster in the most important of several staffing changes at the ancient school. Following the resignation of previous Muggle study teacher, Alecto Carroll will be taking over post while her brother Amicus fills the position of defense against dark arts professor. I welcome the opportunity to uphold our finest wizarding tradition and value, like committing murder and cutting off people's ear, I suppose. Snape, headmaster. Snape in Dumbledore's study. Merlin's pants," she shrieked, making both Harry and Ron jump. She leaped up from the table and hurtled from the room, shouting as she went, "I'll be back in a minute." "Merlin's pants," repeated Ron, looking amused. She must be upset. He pulled the newspaper toward him and pursued the article about Snape. "The other teachers won't stand for this. McGonagall and Finnick and Sprout all know the truth. They know how Dumbledore died. They won't accept Snape as headmaster. And who are these Carrols, Death Eaters?" said Harry. There were pictures of them inside. They were at the top of the tower when Snape killed Dumbledore, so it's all friends together. And Harry went on, bitterly drying up a chair, "I can't see that the other teachers have got any chance to stay. If the Ministry and Voldemort are behind Snape, it'll be a choice between staying and teaching one nice few years in Azkaban. And that's if they're lucky. I reckon they'll stay and protect the students." Creature came bustling to the table with a large tray in his hand and ladled out soup into pristine bowls, whistling between his teeth as he did so. "Thanks," Creature said Harry, flipping over the prophet so as not to look at Snape's face. "Well, at least we know exactly where Snape is now." He began to spoon soup into his mouth. The quality of Creature's cooking had improved dramatically ever since he had given Regulus his locket. Today's French onion was good as Harry had ever tasted. There were still a load of Death Eaters watching the house, he told Ron as he ate. "More than usual. It's like they're hoping we'll march out carrying our school trunks and head off for the Hogwarts Express." Ron glanced at his watch. "I've been thinking about all day. It left nearly 6 hours ago. We're not being on it, isn't it?" In his mind, Harry seemed to see the Scarlet Stream engine as he and Ron had once followed it by the air, shimmering between fields and hills. rippling scarlet caterpillar. He was sure Ginny, Neva, and Luna were sitting together at this moment, perhaps wondering where he, Ron, and Ron were, or debating how best to undermine Snape's new regimen. They nearly saw me coming back in just now. I landed badly on the top step, and the cloak slipped. I do that every time, and oh, here she is. Ron added, craning around in his seat to watch Hermione re-enter the kitchen. And what in the name of Merlin's most baggy Y-fronts was that about? I remember this, Hermione panted. She was carrying a large framed picture, which she now lowered to the floor before seizing her small beaded bag from the kitchen sideboard. Opening it, she proceeded to force the paint inside. And despite the fact that it was patiently too large to fit inside the small bag, within a few seconds it had vanished, like so much else, into the bag's capacious depths. Phineas necklace, Hermione explained as she threw the bag onto the kitchen table with the usual Soren's clanking crash. Sorry? Said Ron, but Harry understood. The painting image of Phineas Negus Black was able to flit between his portrait in Grimmauld Place and the one hung in the headmaster's office at Hogwarts, circular tower-top room where Snape was no doubt sitting right now, in triumphant possession of Dumbledore's collection of delicate silver magical instruments, the snow pensive, and the sorting hat. And unless it had been removed elsewhere, the sword of Gryffindor. Snape could send Phineas Negus to look inside this house for him, Hermione explained to Ron as she resumed her seat. But let him try it now. All Phineas Negus will be able to see is the inside of my handbag. Good thinking, said Ron, looking impressed. Thank you, smiled Hermione, pulling her soup toward her. So, Harry, what else happened today? Nothing, said Harry. Watch the ministry entrance for several hours. No sign of her. Sorry, Dad, though, Ron. He looks fine. Ron nodded his appreciation of this news. They had agreed it was far too dangerous to try and communicate with Mr. Weasley while he walked in and out of the mystery, because he was always surrounded by other ministry workers. It was, however, reassuring to catch these glimpses of him, even if he did not look very stained and anxious. Dad always told us most ministry people use the flu powder to get to work. That's why we haven't seen Umbridge. She never walk. She thinks she's too important. And what about that funny old wizard and that little wizard in the navy robes? Hermione asked. Oh yeah, the block from Magical Mannequins, said Ron. How do you know he works with Magical Mannequins? Hermione asked, her soup suspended in midair. Dad said people from Magical Mannequins wear navy blue robes, but you never told us that. Hermione dropped her spoon and pulled her the shelf of notes and maps that she and Ron had been examining when Harry had entered the kitchen. There's nothing here about navy blue robes. Nothing. She looked feverishly through the robes. Well, does it really matter? Ron, it all matters. We're going to get into the ministry and not give ourselves away when they're bound to be on the lookout for intruders. Every little detail matters. We've been over and over this. I mean, what's the point of all these reconnaissance trips if you aren't even bothering to tell us? Blimey, Hermione, I forgot one little thing. You do realize, don't you, that there's probably no more dangerous place in the whole world for us to be right now than the Ministry of... I think we should do it tomorrow, said Harry. Hermione stopped at her jaw hanging. Ron choked a little over his soup. Tomorrow, repeated Hermione. You aren't serious, Harry. I am, said Harry. I don't think we're going to be much better prepared than we are now, even if we shrunk around the Ministry entrance for another month. The longer we put it off, the farther away the lock could be. There's already a good chance Umbridge has chucked it away. The thing doesn't open. Unless she found a way to open it and she's now possessed. Wouldn't make any difference to her. She was so evil in the first place. Harry shrugged. Hermione was biting her lips deep in thought. We know everything important, Harry went on, addressing Hermione. We know they've stopped oppression in and out of the Ministry. We know only the most senior Ministry are allowed to connect their homes to flu power now. Because Ron heard about those two unspeakables complaining about it, and we know roughly where Umbridge's office is. Because of what you heard that bearded block saying to his mate. I'll be up on level 1. Doris wants to see me. Hermione recited immediately. Exactly, said Harry. And we know you get in using those funny coins or tokens or whatever they are. Because I thought that witch borrowing went from her friend. But we haven't got any. If the plan works, we'll have... Harry continued calmly. I don't know, Harry. I don't know. There are an awful lot of things that could go wrong. So much rests on chance. That'll be true even if we spend another 3 months preparing. It's time to act. He could tell from Ron and Hermione's faces that they were scared. He was not particularly confident himself, and yet he was sure the time had come to put their plans into operation. They had spent the previous 4 weeks taking it in turns to don the invisibility cloak and spy on the official entrance in the Ministry, which Ron, thanks to Mr. Weasley, had known since childhood. They had tailed Ministry workers on their way in, eavesdropped on their conversation, and learned by careful observations which of them could be relied upon to appear alone at the same time every day. Occasionally there had been a chance to sneak a daily prophet out of somebody's briefcase. Slowly they had built up the sketchy map and notes now stacked in front of Hermione. All right, said Ron slowly. Let's say we go for it tomorrow. I think it should be me and Harry. Oh, don't start that again. I thought we settled this, said Hermione. It's one thing hanging around the entrance under the cloak, but this is different, Hermione. Ron jabbed a finger at a copy of the Daily Prophet dated 10 days previous. You're on the list of Muggle-borns who didn't present themselves for interrogation, and you're supposed to be dying of splattergouts at the Burrow. If anybody should go, it's Harry. He got a 10,000 galleon price on his head. Fine, I'll stay here, said Harry. Let me know if you ever defeat Voldemort, won't you? As Harry and as Ron and Hermione laughed, pain shot through the scar on Harry's forehead. His hand jumped on it. He saw Hermione's eyes narrow, and he tried to pass off the movement by brushing his hair out of his eyes. Well, if all three of us go and we'll have to just separately, Ron will say. We can't fit all under the cloak anymore. Harry's scowl was becoming more and more painful. He stood up at once. Creature hurried forward. Master has not finished his soup. Would Master prefer the savory stew or else the treacle tarts to which Master is so partial? Thanks, creature, but I'll be back in a minute. Bathroom. Aware that Hermione was watching him suspiciously, Harry hurried up the stairs to the hall and then the first landing, where he dashed into the bathroom and bolted the door again. Grunting was plain. He slumped over the back basin with his taps in the form, open-mouthed serpent, and closed his eyes. He was gliding around a Torwood street. The building on either side of him had high, timbered gables. They looked like gingerbread houses. He approached one of them, then saw whiteness in his own long-fingered hand against the door. He knocked. He felt a mounting excitement. A door opened. A laughing woman stood there. Her face fell as she looked into humor gone, terror replacing it. Gregorovitch, said a high, cold voice. She shook her head. She was trying to close the door. A white hand held it steadily, preventing her shutting him out. I want Gregorovitch. Won't Herr nicht mehr, she cried, shaking her hand. He no live here. He no live here. I know him not. Abandoning the attempt to close the door, she began to back away from the dark hall, and Harry followed, gliding toward her. His long fingered hand had drawn his wand. Where is he? Das Web ich nicht. He move. I know not. He raised his wand. She screamed. Two young children came running into the hall. She tried to shield them with her arm. There was a flash of green light. Harry! He opened his eyes. He had sunk to the floor. Hermione was pounding on the door. Harry, open up! He had shouted out. He knew it. He got up and unbolted the door. Hermione toppled inside at once, regained her balance, and looked around suspiciously. Ron was right behind her, looking unnerved as he pointed his wand into the corner of the chilly bathroom. What were you doing? Asked Hermione sternly. What do you think I was doing? Asked Harry with feeble bravado. You were yelling your head off. Oh yeah, I must have dozed off. Harry, please don't insult our intelligence, said Hermione, taking a deep breath. We know your scar hurt downstairs and you're white as a sheet. Harry sat down at the edge of the bath. Fine. I've just seen Voldemort murdering a woman. By now, he's probably killed her whole family, and he didn't need to. It was Cedric all over again. They were just there. Harry, you aren't supposed to let this happen anymore, Hermione cried, her voice echoing through the bathroom. Dumbledore wanted you to use occlumency. He thought the connection was dangerous. Voldemort can use it, Harry. What good is it to watch him kill and torture? How can it? Because it means you can't. You know what he's doing. So you're not even going to try and shut him out? Hermione, I can't. You know I'm lousy at occlumency. I never got the hang of it. You never really tried, she said hotly. I don't get it, Harry. Do you like having this special connection or relationship or whatever? She faltered under the look he gave her as he stood up. Like it? He said quietly, would you like it? No, I'm sorry, Harry. I didn't mean. I hate it. I hate the fact he can get inside me, that I have to watch him when he's most dangerous. But I'm going to use it. Dumbledore. Forget Dumbledore. This is my choice. Nobody else's. I want to know why he's after Gregorovitch. Who? He's a four-sided wand maker, said Harry. He made Crumb's wand, and Crumbs reckon he's brilliant. But according to you, Voldemort got Ollivander locked up somewhere. He saw he got a wand maker. What does he need for another? Maybe he agrees with Crumb. Maybe he thinks Gregowitch is better. Or else he thinks Gregowitch will be able to explain what my wand did when he was chasing me, because Ollivander didn't know. Harry glanced into the cracked, dusty mirror and saw Ron and Hermione exchanging skeptical looks behind his back. Ron, Harry, you can't. You keep talking about what your wand did, but you made it happen. Why are you so determined not to take responsibility of your own power? Because I know it wasn't me, and so does Voldemort, Hermione. We both know what really happened. They glared at each other. Harry knew that he had not convinced Hermione and that she was marshalling counter-arguments against both his theory and his wand, and the fact that he was permitting himself to see into Voldemort's mind. To his relief, Ron intervened. Drop it, he advised her. It's up to him. And if we're going to the ministry tomorrow, don't you reckon we should go over the plan? Reluctantly, as the other two could tell, Hermione let the matter rest, though Harry was quite sure she would attack it again at the first opportunity. In the meantime, they returned to the basement kitchen, where Kreacher served them all stew and treacle tart. They did not get to bed until late that night, after spending hours going over and over the plan until they could recite it word perfect to each other. Harry, who was now sleeping in Sirius's bed, lay in bed with his one light trained on the old photograph of his father, Sirius, Lupin, and Pettigrew, and muttered the plan to himself for another 10 minutes. As he extinguished his wand, however, he was thinking not of Polyjuice Potion, puking pastels, or the navy blue robes of magical maintenance. He thought of Gregowitch, the wand maker, and how long he could hope to remain hidden while Voldemort sought him determinedly. Dawn seemed to follow midnight with indecent haste. "You look terrible," was Ron's greeting as he entered the room to wake Harry. "Not for long," said Harry, yawning. They found Hermione downstairs in the kitchen. She was being served coffee and hot rolls by Kreacher, and wearing the slightly maniac expression that Harry associated with exam review. "Robes," she said under her breath, acknowledging their presence with a nervous nod, and continued to poke around her beaded bag, Polyjuice Potion, invisibility cloak, decoy detentor. "You should each take a couple of, just in case, puking pastels, nosebleed nougat, and extendable ears." They gulped down their breakfast and set off upstairs, Kreacher bowing them out and promising to have a steak and kidney pie ready for them when they return. "Bless him," said Ron fondly. "And when you think I used to fantasize about cutting off his head and sticking it to the wall." They made their way onto the front step with immersed caution. They could see a couple of puffy-eared Death Eater watching the house from across the Mystery Square. Hermione separated with Ron first and came back for Harry. After a usual brief spell of darkness and near suffocation, Ron found him in the tiny alleyway where the first phase of their plan was scheduled to take place. It was as yet deserted except for a couple of large bins. The first ministry worker did not usually appear here until at least 8 o'clock. "Right then," said Hermione, checking her watch. "She ought to be here in 5 minutes when I've stunned her. Hermione, we know, said Ron sternly, and I thought we were supposed to open the door before she got here. Hermione squealed. I nearly forgot. Stand back. She pointed her wand at the padlock and heavily graphitized fire door beside them, which burst open with a crash. The dark corridor behind the Lee, as they knew from their careful scouting trips into an empty theater. Hermione pulled the door back toward her to make it look as it was still closed. And now, she said, turning away to face the other two in the alleyway, we put on the cloak again and we wait. Ron finished, throwing it over Ron's head, Hermione's head like a blanket over a birdcage, and rolled his eyes at Harry. A little more than a minute later, there was a tiny pop in a little miniature witch with flyaway gray hair, printed feet from them, blinking a little in the sudden brightness. The sun had just come out from behind a cloud. She had barely time to enjoy the unexpected warmth, however, before Hermione's sudden stunning spell hit her in the chest and she toppled over. Nicely done, Hermione, said Ron, emerging from behind a bin beside the theater door as Harry took off the invisibility cloak. Together they carried the little witch into the dark passageway that leads backstage. Hermione plucked a few hairs from the witch's head and added them to a flask of muddy polyjuice potion. She had taken from the beaded bag. Ron was rummaging through the little witch's handbag. She's Malfelda Hopkirk, she said, reading a small card that identified her victim as an assistant in the improper use of magical office. You better take this, Hermione, and here are the tokens. She passed her several small golden tokens, all embossed with the letters M-O-M, which he had taken from the witch's purse. Hermione drank the polyjuice potion, which was now a pleasant heliotrope color, and within seconds stood before them, the double of Malfelda Hopkirk, as she removed Malfelda's spectacles and put them on. Harry checked his watch. We're running late. Mr. Magical Maintains will be here any second. They hurried up to close the door on the real Malfelda. Harry and Ron threw the invisibility cloak over themselves, but Hermione remained in view, waiting. Seconds later, there was another pop, and a small furry-looking wizard appeared before them. Oh, hello, Malfelda. Hello, said Hermione in a quavery voice. How are you today? Not so good, actually, replied the little wizard, who looked thoroughly downcast. As Hermione and the wizard headed for the main road, Harry and Ron crept along behind them. I'm sorry to hear you're under the weather, said Hermione, talking firmly over the little wizard as he tried to expound upon his problems. It was essential to stop him from reaching the street. Here, have a street. Huh? Oh, no thanks. I insist, said Hermione aggressively, shaking the bag of pastels in his face. Looking rather alarmed, the little wizard took one. The effect was insanity. The moment the pastel touched his tongue, the little wizard started vomiting so hard he did not even notice as Hermione yanked a handful of hair from the top of his head. Oh dear, she said as he splattered the alley with sick. Perhaps you better take the day off. No. He choked and retched, trying to continue on his way despite being unable to walk straight. I must go. But that's just being silly, said Hermione, alarmed. You can't go to work in this state. I think you ought to go to St. Mungo's and get them sort you out. The wizard had collapsed, heaving on all fours, still trying to crawl toward the main street. You simply can't go to work like this, cried Hermione. At last he seemed to accept the truth of her words. Using a repulse, Hermione to claw his way back into a standing position, he turned on the spot and vanished, leaving nothing behind but the bag Ron had snatched from his hand as he went, and some flying chunks of vomit. Said Hermione, holding up the skirt of her robe to avoid the puddles of sick. It would have made such less mess to stun him too. Yeah, said Ron, emerging from under the cloak to holding the wizard's bag. But I still think a whole pile of unconscious bodies would have drawn more attention. Keen on his job, though, isn't he? Chuck us the hair and the potion then. Within 2 minutes, Ron stood there before them, as small and furry as a sick wizard, and wearing the navy robes that had been folded in his bag. Where he wasn't wearing them today, wasn't it? Seeing how much he wanted to go. Anyway, red catamol, according to the label in the back. Now wait here, Hermione told Harry, who was still under the invisibility cloak, and we'll be back with some hair for you. He had to wait 10 minutes, but it seemed much longer to Harry, skulking along the sick, spattered alleyway beside the door, concealing the stunned Malfilda. Finally, Ron and Hermione reappeared. I don't know who he is, Hermione said, passing Ron several curly black hair, but he's gone from home and with a dreadful nosebleed. Here, he's pretty tall, and you'll need bigger robes. She pulled out a set of old robes Creature had laundered them, and Harry retired to take the potion and change. Once the painful transformation was complete, he was more than 6 feet tall, and what he could tell from his well-muscled arms, powerfully built, he also had a beard, stowing the invisibility cloak and his glasses inside his new robes. He rejoined the other two. Blimey, that's scary, said Ron, looking up at Harry, who now towered over him. Take one of Malfilda's tokens, Hermione told Harry, let's go. It's nearly time. They stepped out of the alleyway together. 50 yards along the crowded pavement, there was spiked black railing flaked 2 flights of steps, one labeled gentlemen and the other labeled ladies. See you in a moment then, said Hermione nervously, and she tottered off down the steps of ladies. Ron and Hermione joined a number of oddly dressed men descending from what appeared to be an ordinary underground public toilet, tilled grimly black and white. Morning, Reg, called another wizard in navy blue robes as he led him into a cubic by inserting his golden token into a slot in the floor. Blooming pain in the butt, this and forcing us all to get to work this way. And who are they expecting to turn up? Harry Potter? The wizard roared with laughed at his own wit. Ron gave a forced chuckle. Yeah, stupid, isn't it? Yeah. And yes. And he and Harry led themselves into adjoining cubics. To Harry's left and right came the sound of flushing. He croaked down and peered through the gap at the bottom of the cubic, just in time to see a pair of booted feet climb into the toilet next door. He looked left and saw Ron blinking at him. We have to flush ourselves in, he whispered. Looks like it. His voice came out deep gravely. They both stood up, feeling expectant or foolish. Harry clambered into the toilet. He knew at once he had done the right thing. Inside, though he appeared to be standing in water, his shoes, feet, and robes remained quite dry. He reached up, pulled a chain, and the next moment he zoomed down short cute, emerging out of a fireplace into the Ministry of Magic. He got up clumsily. There was a lot more of his body than he was accustomed to. The great atrium seemed darker than Harry remembered it. Previously, a golden fountain had filled the center of the hall, casting shimmering spots of lights over the polished wooden floor and walls. Now a gigantic statue of a black stone dominated the scene. It was rather frightened, this vast sculpture of which then a wizard sat in a ornately carved throne, looking down at the ministry worker toppling out of the fireplace below them. Engraved in foot-high letters at the base of the statue were the word, "Magic is might." Harry received a heavy blow on the back of the leg. Another wizard had just flown out of the fireplace up behind him. "Out of the way. Can't you? Oh, sorry." Runhorn, clearly frightened, the balding wizard hurried away. Apparently the man whom Harry was imperating Rookhorn was intimidating. "Psst," said a voice, and he looked up. He looked around to see a wispy little witch and a fair wizard from magical maintenance jousting him from over beside the statue. Harry hastened to join them. "You got in all right then?" Hermione whispered to Harry. "No, he's still stuck in the bog." "Oh, very funny." "It's horrible, isn't it?" she said to Harry, who was staring up at the statue. "Have you seen what they're sitting on?" Harry looked more closely and realized what he thought were decoratively carved thrones were actually mounds of carved human, hundreds and hundreds of naked bodies, men's, women's, and children, all with rather stupid, ugly faces, twisted, pressed together to support the weight of the handily robed wizards. "Muggles," whispered Hermione, "in their rightful place. Come on, let's get going." They joined the stream of witches and wizards moving toward the golden gates at the end of the hall, looking around as surreptitiously as possible. But there were no sign of the distinctive figure of Dolores Umbridge. They passed through the gate and into a smaller hall, where queues were forming in front of 20 golden grills, housing as many lifts. They had barely joined the nearest one when a voice came, "Catamole!" They looked around. Harry's stomach turned over. One of the Death Eaters who had witnessed Harry's death was striding toward them. The ministry worker beside them fell silent, their eyes casted. Harry could feel fear rippling through them. The man scowling, slightly brutish face was somehow at odds with his magnificent, sweeping robes, which were embroidered with much golden thread. Someone in the crowd around the lift called simply, "Morning, Yanksley." Yanksley ignored them. "I requested someone from magical maintenance to sort out my office, Catamore. It's still raining in there." Ron looked around, hoping someone else would, but but nobody saw it. Raining in your office? That's not good, is it? Ron gave a nervous slap. Inksy's eyes widened. You think it's funny, Catamore, do you? A pair of which just broke away from the quill for the lift and bustled off. No, of course. You realize that I'm on my way downstairs to interrogate your wife, Catamore. In fact, I'm quite surprised you're not down there holding her hands while she waits. Already given her up as a bad job, have you? Probably wise. Be sure to marry a pureblood next time. Hermione let out a little squeak of horror. Anxie looked at her. She coughed feebly and turned away. I stammered. But my wife were accused of being a mudblood, said Yangsley. Not that any woman I marry would ever be mistaken for such filth. And the head of the Department of Magical Law Enforcement need a job doing. I will make it my priority to do that job, Catamore. Do you understand me? Yes, whispered Ron. Then attend to it, Catamore. If my office is not completely dry within an hour, your wife's blood status will be even in graver doubt than it is now. The golden grill before them clattered open with a nod and an unpleasant smile to Harry, which was eventually expected to appreciate this treatment of Catamore. Yangsley swept away toward another lift. Harry, Ron, and Hermione entered theirs, but nobody followed them. It was as if they were infectious. The grill shut with a clang, and the lift began to move upward. What am I going to do? Ron asked the others two at once. He looked stricken. If I don't turn up Catamore's wife will come with you. We should stick together, began Harry, but Ron shook his head feverishly. That's mental. We haven't got much time. You two find Umbridge and I'll go and sort out Yangtze's office. But how do I stop it raining? Triffin in Kratom, said Hermione at once. That should stop the rain if it's a hex or a curse. If it doesn't, something's wrong with an atmospheric charm, which will be more difficult to fix. So, as an intensive measure, try Imperius to protect his belongings. Say it again, slowly, said Ron, searching his pocket desperately for a quill. But at that moment, the lift just juddered to a halt. A dissembled female voice said, Level 4, Department of Regulation Control of Magical Creatures, Encroaching Beasts, Beings, and Spirit Divisions, Goblin Labson's office, and Pest Advisory Bureau, and the grill slid open again. A couple of wizards and several pale violet paper airplanes that fluttered around the lamp in the ceiling of the lift. Morning, Albert, said a brusquely whiskered man, smiling at Harry. He glanced at Ron and Hermione as the lift creaked upward again. Hermione was now whispering frantic instructions to Ron. The wizard leaned toward Harry, leering and muttering, Dirk Crescent from Goblin Lessons. Nice one, Albert. I'm pretty confident he'll get his job now. He winked. Ron smiled back. Harry smiled back, hoping that this would surface. The lift stopped. The grills opened once more. Level 2, Department of Magical Law Enforcement, including the improper use of magical office, headquarters, and Wizard God Administration Service, said the disembodied wizard, which is what voice. Harry saw Hermione give Ron a little push, and he hurried out of the lift, followed by the other wizards, leaving Harry and Hermione alone. The moment the golden doors had closed, Hermione said very fast, Hermione said very fast. Actually, Harry, I think I better go after him. I don't think he knows what he's doing, and if he gets caught the whole thing. Level 1, Minister of Magic and Support Staff. The golden grills slid apart again, and Hermione gasped. 4 people stood there. 2 of them deep in conversation. A long-haired woman, wizard, wearing magnificent robes of black and gold, and a squat toad-like witch wearing a velvet belt to her short hair and clutched clipboard. That is all for today. Bye.